Fighters, today on the show, I'm going to be doing a little bit of a reaction video from some of Marcus Sheridan's talk that he did in 2022 at Mile High Profit Summit that absolutely rocked the room, changed a bunch of lives, in fact helped so many men and women in the trades increase their sales lickety-split when they implemented the things he talked about. So I want to just share some of my thoughts on some of these key points of this video, of his talk, and I want to encourage you to hit the link in the description and join us. Go to milehighprofitsummit.com, grab your ticket for Mile High 2023. Marcus is actually coming back, and he's going to take the things he talked about in this talk from 2022, and he's going to teach us how to use AI to do it better. So check this out.
So this trend right here, you've heard me talk about it before. This is the most fundamental shift that we have all experienced within the world of commerce, the way we think, the way we buy. This is what we know today. Today, on average, 80% of the buying decision is made before someone talks to who? The salesperson. That's right. We're 80% home, on average, before we talk to the salesperson. Now, this doesn't diminish sales. This isn't an anti-sales message. Anybody that knows me knows I'm obsessed with sales. But I don't really distinguish very much anymore sales and marketing. It's the same skill sets. How can I communicate in a way to engender more trust than anyone in my space?
So guys, I want to share a bit on this here from personal experience. You know, Marcus is talking about 80% of the buying decision has been made before somebody ever reaches out to your company. You know, in our painting company many years ago, I had met Marcus, had some conversations. He coached me up on a few things, and I started to implement those things in our painting business, where we would create content that would build trust before I ever knocked on somebody's door. So by the time they're filling out a form on our website, by the time they're picking up the phone to call the office and set up an appointment with us, the decision was almost all the way home. You know, we've said here in the fight before that good marketing, really good marketing, is like a great golf shot that you hit the golf ball and your marketing's so good that the ball is sitting right next to the cup, so that it's just a simple gimme putt that for you to knock it in and sell the project at your sales meeting. And so he's going to dig into some things here, and they're going to be important to listen. But remember, everything is trust in sales. All right. If you don't have trust, you don't have anything. If you don't have leads coming in, obviously you don't have anything to sell, but we want the right people reaching out to us. We want them.
Sometimes that's called marketing. Sometimes that's called sales. But if we're being very honest and we look at it in terms of departments, and this number's true, and our average prospect is 80% home before they reach out to us, before we know they exist. That means which department of your organization, you might say, I don't have departments. Yes, you do. Which department of your organization has a greater impact on the actual sale? Is it the sales department or the marketing department? Which one? Marketing. You didn't say it with much vigor. Which department has more impact on the sale? Marketing. Now, we're all marketers.
He's talking about, you know, the sale being home and all the trust being built and which department's more important. What I have personally seen in my own businesses is that when you market properly, raise your hand if you've heard me on the fight here talk about you got to build your brand. You got to build your brand. Guys, there's safety in a brand. There's trust in a brand. Go to a foreign country and you'll see all these restaurants everywhere, and then you'll see McDonald's Golden Arches. No matter what you think of McDonald's, whether you eat it back in the United States or not, the fact is you're going to have a degree of trust because you're familiar with the brand. I've seen it many times that being solid on the marketing things in your business, building your brand, building the trust as we're talking about here, will actually compensate for less than amazing salespeople. Okay, let me say that again. You can be a subpar salesperson and still hit your sales goals if you have strong marketing that is building trust.
We're all salespeople, and we've got to approach it as such. There's no exit door for marketing, and it's only going to grow. Is that number going to go back? 25 years ago, internet's just getting started. What do you think that number was? 20%? 30%? Today we're 80%. Over the next 5, 10, 15 years, where's it going to go? Only going to go up. This will not go back. Now, as soon as you accept this, it can guide your decisions. So that's not going to change. That's foundational to us. Okay, good. Now, my quick story for those that don't know it. Used to be a pool guy. In fact, I started a swimming pool company in 2001 called Reber Pools right out of university, okay? It's funny, like some of you, I didn't grow up saying, I want to be a pool guy. But that's the beauty of the way God works. He puts us in the path where we need to be. I didn't know why. It came clear eventually. And so, things were going okay for us. I mean, we're fighting the fight, the contractor fight, up until this particular date number. Who remembers what this bottom number represents? Anybody remember that bottom number? That's the stock market. That's where it went that day. People today complain when it's like 30-some thousand, right? That's where it was then. That shows you what can happen in 15 years to the marketplace. And within 48 hours of this day, we had 5 people withdraw deposits, said we can't do business with you, Marcus. And so we lost about $250,000 in business in the first 48 hours after the crash. And over the coming weeks, it got worse and worse. And by January of 2009, we're going over that proverbial edge. I talked to 3 consultants. All 3 consultants said the same thing. You should file bankruptcy. But like many of you, every single loan I had was attached to my home. So if I file bankruptcy, I'm going to lose my home. My 2 business partners are going to lose their home. My 16 employees at the time would have lost their jobs. So we had to figure out how to get back over that edge. We didn't have much time. We certainly didn't have much money. But that's the beauty of pain, right?
For those of you that were not in business, maybe not even in the workforce, when the Great Recession hit in 2008, it was a brutal time. Marcus is obviously sharing his story here. Our painting company, our lead flow was cut by like 2/3 literally overnight. And it was everything that we could do to fill the calendar. And adversity, you guys, causes you to get creative when your back is against the wall. And I want to encourage you that right now in your business, if you're struggling with something, put your eyes back on the dream that you have. Okay? When your why is strong enough, you don't mind the ugly ride on the way to the success that you want. You will put in the time. You will do what's necessary. As you're going to hear in a minute from Marcus of what he did. And once I connected with him a little bit around this time, I started doing the same thing, and it definitely helped us. In fact, our profits were actually a little bit higher during the recession after we kind of got our feet under us a little bit after the initial shock of it. And a lot of good things that we teach here in the Contractor Fight came out of that adversity. So if you're getting punched in the face right now, I want to encourage you to just keep going and find a way. FWs find a way to win. Be an FW.
That's why when I look at what's happening with the economy right now, there's a part of me that gets really excited. Because it's not when everything is fat and happy that we have great innovation, that we do things outside of our norms and our comfort zone. When do we get uncomfortable? When? When we're hungry, when we got stress, when we got pain, when we need it. That's oftentimes where the greatest innovation comes from. I just got to say something real quick. Anybody here ever heard of the pride cycle? Pride cycle. Neil actually talked about this a second ago. Pride cycle. Okay. So pride cycle, I just want you to imagine a circle. And at the bottom of the circle, it's the stage of hunger. I'm hungry because I'm in pain. I have a need. I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to grow my business. I'm trying to get out of debt. And so because we're hungry, at the bottom of the circle, things are low. We start to do things that normally wouldn't do, like come to events like this, like improve our people, our circle. We start to get influenced. We start to get mentors. We start to do the little things that we didn't do with business. We start to go the extra mile. And because we start to go the extra mile, what happens? Our life, our business improves. Things start to get better. We start to get momentum. We start to get very excited. We keep going. And we start to experience this thing that you might call financial peace, prosperity. But once many of us get there, top half of the circle, what happens? start to get lazy again. Stop making that extra call. We stop reading that book and instead start watching Game of Thrones again. And because of that, we start to go back down the circle. We start to struggle. We start to get stressed. We forgot what got us where we gotten, and then suddenly we're right back to where we started.
This might sound familiar to some of you, right? You start winning, and then you take your foot off the gas. You know, I've been there. I've had seasons of life and business where, you know, you finally start to have some wins. If you're coming to the top of the circle like Marcus is talking here, you're having some wins and you just want to take a breath, right? Oh, man, this has been a grind to get here, to get to this financial piece, to get to this part in my business where the phone's ringing off the hook and we're selling and things are going well. And guys, if we're not careful, if we don't step on the gas when we're winning, how you show up when you're winning is actually as important, if not more important, than how you're showing up when you're getting your ass kicked. All right? Because exactly what's happened here can happen. Things start going, the phone starts ringing. What do? The hunger goes away. So whatever you have to do to stay hungry, I encourage you to stay hungry. One of those things you can do is find the right environment to be in with the right people. Because the right people in your life that are calling you higher, that are challenging you, they're not going to let you off the hook. They're going to continue to call you to be more uncomfortable and to lean into things more and more and more. You know, my coach that I work with, he pushes me the hardest when things are going well in our business. All right. And he does that because he understands this concept that we can all be seduced by our own success. We can start reading our own press clippings and thinking we've arrived. I promise you, you have not arrived. There's always a next level, and you have to stay hungry.
So we were going over that edge. I was feeling the pain. I said, I've got to figure out something. That's when I started to read online, like phrases like inbound marketing, content marketing, social media. And what I heard in my simple pool guy mind was, you know, Marcus, if you just obsess over your customers' questions and you're willing to really listen to them now, their questions, their worries, their fears, their concerns, and you're willing to address those on your website, through text, through video, like you've heard before, just might save your business. So I said, well, shoot. If there's one thing I can do is I can certainly listen to what they're asking me every single day. And then I can address those on our website. So I told our team, I said, we're going to do this thing. I got an idea. We're going to call it They Ask, You Answer. And I sat on my kitchen table one night. I'll never forget it. And I brainstormed all the questions I'd ever received from people when I was in their home selling a swim pool. I had over 100 questions. And if you can't think of over 100 questions, you're just being lazy. Because there's hundreds of questions. Doesn't matter what you sell. Doesn't matter the service you provide. Hundreds of questions. No, by the way, of those hundreds of questions that exist that you've been asked, how many are answered on your website right now? For being honest, not as many. I should be, right? And so I brainstormed them, and then over the next 2 years, one by one, I would sit there.
My fucking computer just died again.
I brainstormed them, and then over the next 2 years, one by one, I would sit there every night. And my wife tells me to this day, I can still hear you sitting at the kitchen table and the sound of the keys hitting the laptop. She said almost brought me comfort because, you see, we were in incredible debt. Incredible debt. I was so afraid. My action was just get to work. And so something really magical happened. As we did that, things started to change. We started to get more traffic, more leads, more sales. Reber Pools, as many of you know, went on to become the most trafficked swim pool website in the world. Today, during the summertime, we get somewhere around 1 million visitors a month. We own the industry. Nobody's ever going to catch up. I'm going to show you how it happened. And I want you to know it's possible for you too. I never saw myself as a writer. And I'm certainly not like a Geek Squad nerdy type that just gets technology. That's not my thing. But what I do understand is the way humans think, because I can be so self-aware and notice how I'm changing, how I'm evolving as a consumer and as a buyer. And if you can do that, you'll be one of the best marketers in the world.
I want to stop this here real quick, and I want to challenge you to just pause the video, grab a piece of paper and a pen, and I want you to write down 5 questions that you get on a regular basis from your prospects. Okay, so for example, in the painting industry, we would get things like, how much does it cost to paint a bathroom? How much does exterior painting cost? Which paint is better, Sherwin-Williams or Benjamin Moore? How long do I need to use primer before I paint? Okay, guys, all these different types of questions people are typing into Google. And another thing you could do is open up another window here and start typing in, like if you're a deck builder, just go deck building and then space, and you'll see everything auto-populate. Those are things that people are literally typing in to the Google machine, all right, in order to find the answers to. And when you continue to answer the questions, as you're going to hear in the story here, over and over and over, all right, it's going to elevate your position in the marketplace. It's going to build trust. It's going to build your brand. You will be known as the expert. It's happened for me. Many of you are part of the Contractor Fight, and you've come to our Mile High events. You're in our Battleground program. You bought our courses. Guys, every single dollar we've ever earned inside the Contractor Fight is rooted back to the content like I'm doing right now. All right? You just have to start. Don't worry about the tech. Don't worry if you're a good writer. Don't worry if you're good on video. You got to put yourself out there and figure out a way to win. That's what winners do. All right? Again, when your why is strong enough, the how doesn't matter, and you'll figure it out. And just like anything else, you'll get better at it over time.
If you are very self-aware about your own changes. And so they ask you answer, went on to become the book. The book has sold hundreds of thousands of copies, been translated in many languages, and many people in this space are embracing the principles. And what's great about it is the principles will not become outdated because they're rooted in honesty and truth and transparency, as you're going to see. Now, I'm going to show you how you can do this. But before we do it, I got to say this, even though I do not expect this problem from this audience right here. It doesn't matter where I go in the world. There's 2 types of audiences. First person hears a new thing and they say, I think we can do that. I think I could apply that. I'm sure there's a way. Second person hears it and they say, that might have worked for you, Marcus, but here at, what's the name of your company? Greystone, things are different because my buyer is special. My area, my location is special. Any of y'all believe that crap in this room? That's what I thought. Man, I speak in corporate America, and do not quote me on this, I swear. So many of them think, oh, you don't understand. We have a very complex sales process. Complex. So complex, you can't even explain it, can you? How do you think they're going to buy from you, ding dong? It's crazy. So, I'm just going to assume that nobody in this room is going to put yourself in that place of, he doesn't understand my business. He doesn't understand my buyer. Can we agree to that? If we all agree to that, say yes, please. Yes. All right, I'm feeling your vibes. I'm going to give you 3 simple things that you can do if you want to become the most trusted voice in your space. This is where we're going to start. This is our just very overarching audit. Number 1, if you want to become the most trusted voice in your space, you've got to be willing to talk about that which nobody else in your space is willing to talk about. When I say nobody else, I'm referring to 95% of the market. Think right now. What are you talking about specifically on your website, on social media, that others in your space are saying, no, we just can't talk about that. We can't go there. Now, I know some of you are doing this. It's pretty exciting. That's number 1. Number 2, you got to be willing to show that which nobody else in your space is willing to show. Now that, of course, has to do with video. What are you showing that no one else in your space is showing? Let me give you an example. So today we manufacture fiberglass swimming pools. I was the first manufacturer of fiberglass swimming pools in the world that showed their entire manufacturing process. A series of 8 videos that lasted 10 minutes long each, roughly 80 minutes worth of content. People will tell me, like manufacturers, peers in the industry, were like, what are you doing, Marcus? Why are you showing this? Like someone could literally start a business by watching your videos. I'm like, are you that dumb? You think you have secret sauce? You don't have secret sauce. We all know it's Thousand Island dressing, y'all. Come on. Ain't no secret sauce. And then suddenly, people, it was really fascinating. Homeowners around the country started saying to dealers, do you sell river pools? Because I want a river pool, because they're the only ones that show exactly how they make their pools. And these dealers were getting pissed off at me. And they were calling me. They're saying, I got a stinking homeowner here that wants one of your pools. I'm like, what's your point? Well, I mean, I want to sell your pools. We were the first manufacturer that had 0 sales reps in the organization, because your best sales rep is the end user, always, the customer. They're your greatest sales rep. You take a person that says, in this case, in my case, to the dealer, if you do not carry a river pool, I'm not going to do business with you. That is worth more than 5,000 visits from a salesperson. Fascinating how it works, isn't it? And number 3, and this is the one that's really evolving, and this is where we're going to get a lot of resistance. You got to be willing to sell in a way that nobody else in your space is willing to sell. Now, that's one thing I love about what Tom teaches, because the way, man, I just watched Tom and I met like 10 years ago, and immediately I'm like, I am vibing with this dude. We could feel it. So I'm so grateful to be a part of this community and Steve's community. It's just been such a glorious ride. But we're going to look a little bit at that, how you can sell in a way that nobody else is selling. Now, a moment of self-awareness, quick poll. Please participate. I want you to raise your hand if you can absolutely say, and be self-aware, daggone it. If you can absolutely say, Marcus, we are definitively, consistently doing all 3 of those things right now, raise your hand. Maybe you didn't hear the question.
Not one hand. So guys, this number 3 thing, you must be willing to sell in ways that others don't. What Marcus is referring to, what we teach here in the fight, is our Shinfu sales process. And it's designed to, again, be rooted in human connection and trust and empathy and the right spirit of the conversation. And when you have the process that we teach, number 1, you're going to be way better and way more uncommon than any other salesperson your prospects will ever meet. Number 2, when you combine it with with some of the things that Marcus is going to share here going forward that I'm going to skip to, you have this perfect storm of building trust, and the sales process becomes incredibly simple.
Most people don't embrace the ask you answer. Certainly most people in the blue collar contracting space across the board. We're like the ostrich, head in the sand, because the ostrich thinks, if I bury my head in the sand, what's going to happen to the problem? It go away. Does it ever go away?
Nope.
Never goes away. Has there ever been a question that you get, a worry, a fear, an issue from a prospect where they asked it, but it just magically went away? They just I don't need to know that. I'll just live in fear. That doesn't work. Can you become the most trusted voice in your space and be that ostrich right there? Heck no. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. So how do you become the anti-ostrich? You got to embrace what we call, some of you are very aware of it, runs the economy, runs the internet. It's called Big Five. You understand the Big Five. This is where you start to have a shift right now. Because now we're going to start to look in the mirror together, and the way you have evolved as a buyer, the way you search online, the way you consume information to make buying decisions.
What he's about to share is the Big Five. These are things that if you just focused your content creation around these things, you will own your area on Google, okay? I believe he gives a stat. It's been a minute since I watched this, a little while, so I forget the exact stat, and I'm not sure if I'm going to hit it here in this video with you guys, but something like if you produce 2 pieces of content a week for 18 months based on the They Ask You answer, and it's on your website, and you're sharing it on social and those different things, Guys, I'm telling you, you will own your area in your industry on Google within about a year and a half. Okay, now you sit here and go, Tom, that's a year and a half. Okay, I can't wait a year and a half. I got to get the phone ringing now. Well, guess what there, brainiacs? All right, the time's going to fucking pass anyway. So you got to deal with the shit sandwich that you got to eat right now if you haven't been doing shit to build your brand. That's on you. But what you can do from today going forward is you could take action on this shit, all right? And you could start implementing it because the time's going to pass anyway. In my case, the first time when I started blogging, I started writing articles on the website. This is way before video has become what it is today. I didn't do really any of the video stuff because it was too hard, literally. Some of you younger guys don't know this. Logan, my video guys looking at me across the room right now, probably doesn't know this. There was a time when you wanted to get video, you had to get a different device, a fucking camera, and then you had to like convert it and upload it to your computer and do all this garbage. He's nodding his head, right? Guys, it's never been easier than it is now to do the video, and it's probably going to continue to get easier. All right, my point here is that's why when I share about this a lot, I talk about blogging because that's what we were doing at the time. Okay? I attacked this, and within just a few months, just on one of these things he's going to tell you to create content around is pricing. And I know a lot of you guys are fighting this, and you're fighting it because you're fucking pussies. All right? So quit being a pussy if you want to make some money. Okay? Because if you're typing shit on your website, you have a pricing page that says all projects are different. Call us for pricing. Okay? You just eroded some of the trust with the potential buyer because you didn't ask the damn question. All right? And there are ways to do this that you don't pigeon yourself into something, okay? Because you give ranges starting at prices. And the number one way you can answer pricing questions on your website is, hey, people always wonder, what does it cost to build a deck, blah, blah, blah. Okay? We get this question all the time at ABC Decks. You know, how much does it cost to build a deck? The short answer is it depends. Below, we will explain some things that could cause the price to go up or down based on the features and the bells and whistles and the type of wood and access and the height of the deck and how many square feet and blah, blah, blah. And then you educate. When I did this, when I went all in just on the pricing stuff that we're talking here, I owned 8 out of 10 organic search results for anything that had to do with painting and prices in my area within about 4 to 6 months, 4 or 5 months, right in there. It got to the point, you guys, where I come out to somebody's house, they would tell me, hey, I used your website and figured up my price for the paint job. I'm curious to see what you come up with, and we'd always be within a couple $100. Okay? They already knew they were going to hire us. It was my job to lose. All right, so pay attention.
There's 5 fundamental subjects that we want to research before we reach out to a company. During that 80%, before we shake the salesperson's hand, here's the 5 things that we want to research. Number 1, we want to understand how much is it? Even if we've got the money, we want to know how much is it for some reason. Number 2, we want to know what are the issues, the negatives. How could this go wrong? How could this blow up in my face? Number 3, we want to know how does that thing that I'm looking at compare to that other thing that I'm looking at? Number 4, we want to know what's everybody saying about it, reviews. But here's the thing with reviews. A great review doesn't talk about just why you like it, who it's for. It also talks about who it's not for. And number 5, best, most, top, on and on. How many times have you used the word best plus a phrase searching on Google? How many times? Hundreds of times, isn't it? That, my friends, is the economy. And here's what's fascinating. Buyers, your customers are obsessed with these searches, these questions, and businesses as a whole do not like to talk about them. So we have a paradox of wants.
So I'm going to skip ahead. He's going to make the case for why you need to talk about these things, but I got a lot of things I want to get to here, so we're going to skip through it.
You don't get scared by great education. You get scared by ignorance. That's what scares us. Now, some of you still might not be sold, so let's just analyze this together. When we embraced They Ask You Answer, our first piece of content we put on our website was a guide to fiberglass pool costs. How much does a fiberglass pool cost? And we said buying a fiberglass pool, it's a lot like buying a car. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of accessories. We explained all those options and accessories that drive the cost up, that push the cost down. We talked about why some contractors are so expensive. We talked about what makes some so cheap. But we said ultimately the answer to your question is, it depends. But we were the first to explain in the entire industry why it depends. And something really amazing started to happen. People would call me up and say, thank you, Marcus. Finally, somebody was willing to address this question. And from a search perspective, if you went on Google in the next few days and you searched anything to do with how much does a fiberglass pool cost, this one was the first one that you saw.
Now let me touch on that. He just said within a matter of days, if you hopped down and searched anything about what it cost, he was coming up. Now, a minute ago, I just said that it took me several months. All right. The first article I wrote on pricing got found right away. It was several months before I had like 8 of the 10 organic spots. One of the reasons that pricing articles, in my experience, usually do really well right out of the gate is because your competitors aren't doing this. You know who's doing it? The third-party lead generation sites, the Angie of the world, the Home Advisor of the world, HomeWise, okay? All these other sites are answering the questions that contractors should be answering. And when you start to answer them, remember, Google is a matchmaker. I'm here in Colorado Springs. If I type in how much is interior painting cost, I have a better shot of ranking higher than a lot of these other national things, unless it's an ad that they're running, because I'm local to the person searching, okay? I'm far from an SEO and Google god, okay, or guru. But I can tell you from personal experience, when you hit this hard out of the gate, don't be surprised if you're getting your phone to ring.
That's not revenue. Let's track it back to revenue. So stay with me. We're going to get a little bit analytical, but it's going to make sense. Here's a list of the number one phrases that generated the most traffic to the website over the next few years. Okay? So let's look at the top one for a second. We had 13,000 people go to Google, type in fiberglass pool prices, and of those 13,000, 30 of them filled out a form and said, I want to get a quote from you. Now you might say, well, that's a low conversion rate, but we were in a small area at the time, so that's why the conversion rate is low. Now this is important though. What are the red arrows? The red arrows are phrases that when somebody searched that phrase online, they landed on that article, how much does the fiberglass pool cost? So you've got roughly 200 plus sales appointments that occurred from people that originally landed on that article. How much does a fiberglass pool cost? Now here's the very important question. If that article's never written, if we don't put it on our website, if we're the ostrich with our head in the sand, how many of those 200 plus sales appointments would have occurred? 0 to almost none. Why? Because they wouldn't have found us. But in this case, they did find us. And many of them did start to read the website. Many of them did fill out a form. Many of them did have a sales appointment. Many of them did buy. And we know the value of each one of those pools. And therefore, I can tell you without equivocation, just for my little company in Warsaw, Virginia, that one single article has now generated $25 million in sales.
Hopefully you don't need any more convincing on this point. All right, guys, this is real money. I could tell story after story after story of my own companies of how this has helped us ring the cash register. I'm not going to waste the time here doing it today because we got a lot to cover. But as he's shared several times, you got to be willing to put in the work. A lot of y'all are hiring a web company, and number one, you're hiring somebody too fucking cheap and they don't know what they're doing. All right. Number two, you're expecting your marketing company to work miracles for you. All right. And you're like, well, I'll just run ads and I'll run ads. What are you going to do when you're not paying for ads anymore, when they stop working? Now you don't have anything out there. But when you're creating content, it lives forever. All right. We have pieces of content that I created 8 years ago in the Contractor Fight that still generate revenue for us because I'm owning the racetrack. It's my content. I'm the owner. I'm not the renter. When you're just buying ads, and I'm not anti-ads, I'm just saying a lot of you guys are relying too much on ads and you're too lazy to sit down and take the things that are in your head, put them on paper. You could do a voice note. There's so many things you can do, and you can hire somebody to transcribe it and write it and doctor it up and post it for you. You're going to have to invest a little bit of time here and some money if you really want to stand apart in your marketing.
And that article took me 45 minutes to write at my kitchen table. Do the ROI on that. That's about $500,000 a minute. Yeah. Now, is anybody sitting here resisting the idea of discussing this? So let me give you the mistakes that people make with this, okay? So these are the most common mistakes when talking about cost and price on your website. Take a photo of this. This is very important. Number one, the most important thing when you talk about cost and price is teaching them about the industry and how the industry works. This is where you build the value proposition. When you have your callbacks later on, all these things, this is where we do it. Only 20% really is about you. And frankly, I don't really care how specific you are. I do think you should at least give ranges to people, because ranges in and of itself makes people very happy. So at least give a range, but you don't have to get exact. You don't have to get exact. Now, in some cases, we might get more exact. I'll talk about that later. That's number one. Number two, I would suggest you put pricing in the navigation bar. This will quickly become the most viewed page on your website other than your homepage.
100%.
Immediately overnight.
100%.
Overnight. But if you just throw pricing up there, or if you do what is essentially a bait and switch, number 3, and have a pricing page and then say, hey, pricing varies, call us for a quote, all you're doing is giving them the middle finger online. Don't do that. Don't bait and switch them, because you wouldn't like that either. Teach them. Make a video out of it. Write about it. Whatever you have to do that fits you, because I know you all have a passion about helping people understand value in this industry. And remember, if we don't teach them how value is defined in this industry, who will teach it to them? Someone else, some dumb third-party website that
Hey, that's what I was just going to say.
Or a competitor. None of which I'm interested in. And finally, number 4, when you talk about cost and price, be careful not to suffer from that curse of knowledge. In other words, if you're explaining all the factors that drive cost, don't act like I know every single thing that you're discussing right now. Really teach me as you go. The beauty behind a cost price article, when you're really teaching them, or video, when you're really teaching about value and you're saying, well, this could drive cost and this could drive cost, those are the moments where you teach me, okay, I didn't understand what that was. I didn't even know that existed. Now I know, and I'm so much better for it.
The next part that I'm going to get into here is the problem section. And guys, when you get this right, the trust will go through the roof. As you're going to hear in a minute, Marcus's fiberglass pool company only did fiberglass pools, basically. Or not basically, but that's just what they did. He talks about, in his content, common problems with fiberglass pools. Some of you right now are like, man, I would never shine a light on the problems with the thing I do. All right, but however, as you're going to hear here in a minute, okay, when you do, it's transparency, it's trust. Trust is built, and you're going to see here in a minute how to handle these problems and how to communicate this.
Be honest, what are the problems with the fiberglass pool? Hey, Marcus, one of your competitors said fiberglass pools suck. Hey, Marcus, is it true that a fiberglass pool looks like a bathtub in your yard? Now, I can either ignore these questions, or I can do what? Answer them. They ask, you answer. And of course, how many times over the years do you think somebody said to me, Marcus, be honest, what are the problems with the fiberglass pool? Hundreds of times. So what do? We leaned into it. That's the beauty of they ask, you answer. We openly talked about the top 5 fiberglass pool problems and solutions. We said fiberglass pools aren't for everybody. Can't get them wider than 16 feet, longer than 40 feet. Can't get them deep than 8 feet. You cannot customize them any way you want. But if you're looking for a low maintenance pool, it's going to last you a lifetime. It's less than 16 by 40 and less than 8 feet deep. Well, then it might be a great choice for you. Now, something really amazing happened as we talked about the problems of fiberglass pools. Here's where the data, the rubber meets the road. This is amazing. Look at this. This is a list of the number 1 phrases that generate the most sales appointments over the next couple years. So sales appointments are on the right side. The one that generated the most with 56 was River Pools and Spas, but I don't count that one because that's our company name, okay? So these other phrases that you see were folks that didn't know who they wanted to engage. They just knew they went online and they had a question, a worry, a fear, etc. So the number one phrase that generated the most sales appointments over the next 2 years was fiberglass pools problems. How is it possible that talking about the perceived negatives could, in this case, literally generate millions in sales? How's it possible? Trust. Always goes back to the same thing. Every great salesperson, every great marketer knows the greatest way in life to resolve a concern is to address it when? Before it becomes a concern. That way you own the conversation. You dictate the terms of the conversation. That's our job. So think about all the times somebody said to you, is it true that?
Fuse the bomb before it blows
they
up.
might be talking negative about a material. Who can name one? Like, give me an example. You've already had an idea. Somebody give me an example of one you've already thought about. Come on. Yes, go ahead. What about grout? Yeah, does grout stain, like does grout have staining issues? And it might be more specific, grout as it pertains to a particular application, right? That's a question that people are going to ask. You dictate those terms. Talk about it. That's how you win the trust. Very smart. Who's got another one real quick? Who's got another one? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, does concrete crack? And by the way, the only guarantee with concrete is what? Is that it's going to crack. Good. We're on the same page. We're on the same page. Good. All right? So, address it head on. You know, I used to tell that to homeowners when I was reading disclaimers. I'd say, now, the only guarantee with concrete is it's going to crack. And they would laugh like, ha, ha, ha. And I'm like, ha, ha. No, I'm really serious. It's going to crack. I promise you. That's the promise that I have for you. But then all of a sudden they're like, wow, this dude's very, very real. I love that. Let's look at comparisons. How many times over the years has somebody said to you, okay, well, if you're me, which would you choose? Or I'm looking at that material, I'm looking at that product, I'm looking at that methodology. Can you compare that product, methodology, etc., to this other one that I'm looking at? You get asked these questions all the time, don't you? I used to get asked these questions all the time too, like, Marcus, be honest, what's the difference between a concrete and a fiberglass pool? Now, of course, in my case, nobody had addressed this question of concrete versus fiberglass versus vinyl liner pools on the internet. Why? Because once again, here was the fear of fiberglass pool guy and gal. Fiberglass pool guy was saying, okay, our biggest competitor is concrete pools. So this is what we're going to do. We're not even going to talk about concrete pools on our website. And if we don't talk about concrete pools, well, nobody will know they exist. Now, isn't that so stupid? Now, do some of us in this room still think like that? Ostrich, anyone? Right? So we openly compared fiberglass versus concrete versus vinyl. No, by the way, did we say fiberglass was better? No. Why did we not say it was better? That's right. Once again, back to trust. And besides, it's not always better. Sometimes it is. It's not our job to schlep them. Look at the copy here. This is one thing some of you that are doing the Ask You Answer, this is one big improvement area. For those that are going to be doing it, also, I want you to think about this. Look at the first paragraph. Starts with this. Is there an unbiased comparison of fiberglass in-ground pools, vinyl liner pools, and concrete pools on the internet? So we start with what you're thinking. And then last paragraph. The approach is simple. I list the advantages and disadvantages of fiberglass in-ground pools, vinyl liner pools, and concrete pools. Then back off about pools I learned from you. A huge portion of our customers don't even get another quote, which is crazy in the home improvement space. Because they are married to us. Because they have so much they've invested in us. That's called sunk costs. And if you can increase the sunk costs because they've invested so much time in learning from you, they're looking for a reason to do business with you. And so because we're willing to talk about that today, if you go online, you compare any type of in-ground pool, we're the first you're going to see. And oh, by the way, look at this right here. If you compare online concrete and vinyl pools, we're the first you're going to see. Do we sell concrete or vinyl? No. Do I want to show up when people are searching concrete versus vinyl? Heck yeah. Because I want to inject myself in that conversation. Say, oh, by the way, there's another option. Have you considered this? Here's the pros and cons of fiberglass. Powerful. Own the conversations in your space. Don't let other people own them for you. We're not done. Isn't that great? We still got 20 minutes. By the way, are you having a good time? All right, good. That's why we came. Now, let's talk about video. This is going to be speed round here. Speed round on video. We're going to go fast. We're going to go furious. But I want you to think about video a little bit differently. I want to give you ideas on videos that work. I have trained a lot of companies on how to create a culture of video. We know what videos work. We know which ones do not work. I can tell you pretty much that About Us video, it doesn't work. Not if you want to create deals. You want to create deals, you want to earn trust, you want to do the videos that we're talking about.
All right, so he joked a little bit that your About Us video is probably not going to perform as well as some of the other ones that you're going to make. Guys, here's why. People don't care about you. They care about them. They care about their own desires. They care about their problems. I'm not saying don't have an About Us video. I'm not saying anything like that at all, but a lot of you guys, I've seen it. I just saw somebody the other day, a painting contractor in my area here, that I know, he hired this local marketing company to make a about his company painting commercial that's like a minute and a half long to put on social media. And all it was about me and about me and about us and this and that. He's a great guy, great painter. Love him. Okay, no issues there. The problem is he's not speaking to the prospect.
Seeing is believing. Okay. Now, that's a selling 7. Huge impact if you'll do it. I want to preview something for you. It's a big, big deal. And this isn't something that I'm necessarily excited about, but it's not my job to form emotional connections with the way I've always done things in business. It's my job to react to the marketplace. And there's a stat right now that everybody in this room should be talking about, and it's this right here. 33% of all buyers now say they would like or prefer to have a seller-free sales experience.
This is huge. This is what I was referring to when you're consistent with your content and you're educating, you're positioning yourself, you're answering these questions. That is doing the sales for you. So that the sales call is literally just you going to pick up a deposit check and confirm everything you might have talked about on the phone and stuff if you're using our Shin Fu process. All right. Bottom line, most people, they don't want to meet with somebody that they don't have a degree of trust with. They don't want to do the song and dance of getting all the bids and all that other bullshit any more than you want to play that game. All right, pay attention to this stuff. Obviously, I skipped through some of those other 7 videos to get to this, so this doesn't get too long, but listen, I promise you, I've seen it over and over in my own businesses, and hundreds of our Battleground members through the years and our attendees at Mile High. Guys, you're just getting a taste of what happens at this event every year. This is just one of the speakers. Think about how rich this is, how actionable this stuff is. All right, but none of it matters if you don't implement it.
That I don't think this means they don't ever want to talk to a salesperson, but here's what it definitively means. Our customers do not want to talk with a salesperson until what? They feel ready, safe, informed. And that comes from everything we've talked about. But it's not going to stop there. You're already seeing certain tools pop up around you. Self-service is becoming a very big thing on websites. Now, self-service is the process of allowing the website visitor to do things that traditionally they would have done by talking with, in most cases, a salesperson. Let me give you some examples. Oftentimes, if we want to schedule time with a salesperson, we have to go through hoops, and it takes time, and in the course of that time, there's a lot of attrition. So we've done a bunch of studies on this. If your messaging is right, this is key, because I know you don't want bad leads. If you allow self-scheduling with prospects, you'll see very, very positive outcomes. But if your messaging stinks and you're attracting bad leads, you're not going to get positive outcomes. But self-scheduling is very powerful. In other words, they schedule time on your calendar and you haven't even talked with them yet. This eliminates the back and forth. How many leads have you gotten over the last couple of years where they contacted you, you weren't available, and then you went ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, but you never connected? Hundreds of times for some of you, right? It's very frustrating.
This self-scheduling thing. Right around the time that we were creating content in my company that I was sharing with you earlier, we installed on our website a self-scheduling feature where people could literally at 11 o'clock on a Sunday night, if they're online and they're searching for companies or whatever, they could schedule a time to meet with us or have a phone call, whatever your thing is. Guys, what that does and what Marcus is talking about, all right, is it in some ways takes them off the street, takes away the frustration of the ping pong that he's talking about. It allows them that when they're ready and they're like, man, I want to reach out to these guys, all right, instead of just filling out a form on the site and waiting for you, they select their own time. Our sales went way up with the combination of these couple things that we've been talking about. So guys, this last section that I'm going to go over here is about assignment selling. You may or may not be familiar with the term. Marcus is going to explain it. I'll give a little commentary and then we'll wrap this thing up.
Before we close, I want to talk about my favorite thing, which is assignment selling. Now, for those that have heard me talk about assignment selling, don't spill the beans on this as I ask this question to everybody else, which is, how many pages of your website do you think a potential customer would be willing to read on average before they buy? Now, most industries say 2 to 3 pages of a website. 2 to 3 pages. Well, we know that this is total BS, especially when it involves their home. So let me tell you the story about how this number 30 changed my life. The beginning of, I guess it's 2013, 14. I was comparing 2 groups of people on our website. Both had filled out a form and said, I want to get a quote from you. Now, this group ended up not buying. This group ended up buying. So I said, what is the difference between the ones that did not versus did buy? And I noticed the number 30 kept jumping out underneath the group that bought. And of course, that 30 represents what? Total pages viewed. Here's what we found. This is very important for everybody. We found that if somebody read 30 or more pages of the website before the initial sales appointment, they would buy 80% of the time. If they didn't hit that 80%, closing rates were about 25%, industry average. So they would go from 25 to 80%. Of course, what was happening over the course of those 30 pages? What was happening? Trust. They were falling in love, or they were saying, no, not a good fit, both of which are good. So if you knew that all you had to do was get someone to consume, let's just call it 30, it could be 20 for you, but the concept is the same. All you had to do was get someone to read 30 pages of your website, and they would buy 80% of the time. What would you do differently? Somebody said, better make more pages. That's right, because if your website's 15 pages, you can't say to me as the homeowner, could you read my website twice? So you can't do that. Can't do that. So you better have more content, big 5, about them, their questions, their worries, their fears, but you got to be intentional about the way you sell the content itself. And this is where assignment selling came in to play. What I'm about to show you is how I have trained many salespeople to integrate content into the sales process around the world. Big corporations, small businesses, it doesn't change. So I'm going to show you exactly how we will talk to a homeowner before we go out to the house. This is one moment when, if you haven't seen me do this, you should pull out your phone and you should record this, because you're going to say, I wish I knew exactly how he said that when I was at the event. So get out your phone and record this, because this is something that you want to do. The mistake that a lot of companies make when they have the content is they'll say to the homeowner, it'd be great if you could give a look at this video before I come out to your house. That's not how we say it. So the way we do assignment selling, it sounds something like this. It was Bailey, right? So Bailey, I'll just pretend you're the customer. You don't have to do anything. You can't fail here. Okay, so let's say Bailey says, hey Marcus, I'd love for you to come out to my house and give me a quote for a pool. Now, understanding the power of 30, here's what I would say. Bailey, I'd love to come out to your house, but you're getting ready to spend a lot of money. And if you're going to spend a lot of money, I know you don't want to make any mistakes. And so as to make sure you don't make any mistakes, I'm going to make sure you're well educated. So as we're talking on the phone right now, Bailey, I'm going to send you 2 things that you're going to love. Now, the first thing I'm going to send you is a video. This video shows you the entire process of the installation. Like when the pool shows up to the house, the excavation goes in the ground, patio going around, the whole nine. This way, when I come out to your house on Friday, you're not going to say, so Marcus, what does this process look like? Now, quick time out. How much time did that save me on the sales appointment so far? About 30 minutes so far. 30 minutes so far that I would normally have to explain that. Now, the second thing I'm going to send you, Bailey, is a guide. This guide's great because it's going to answer a lot of the questions you have about pools that nobody's been willing to answer yet. Like, should I get a heater with my pool? What's the best type of heater? Should it be gas? Should it be electric? Should it heat and cool my water? Should I get a cover? What's the best type of cover? Should it be mesh? Should it be solid? Should it be automatic? Should it be solar? Now, this guide, it's a little bit long. It's about 30 pages, but I promise it'll be well worth your time. Bailey, will you take the time to review these things before our appointment on Friday? And 90% of the time he says, sure, I'd love to. And if you're bold like me, you say, great, now Friday morning, I'll give you a call just to confirm you took the time to do those things. That's it. That's assignment selling. Now notice what I didn't say. It'd be great if you could give a look at the video. What did I say? Well, you need to be well educated. You're going to spend a lot of money. You ain't going to make no mistakes on my watch. How are you going to make no mistakes? Number one, you're going to watch this video. Here's what it's going to cover. It's going to save time, so you're not asking me this question when I come out to your house. Here's this guide. It's going to address this and this and this, stuff I know he hasn't thought about. I tell him how long it's going to be, and then I say, will you take the time to review these things before our appointment on Friday? That's the key. I don't say, how's that sound to you? Fine. Fine. That's not sales. If you get an answer of fine, we have not been selling. We don't go for fine. We go for yes, we go for no. That's how we communicate. So he says, yes, I'll do that, at which point we reaffirm our authority by saying, great, I'll give you a call Friday morning just to confirm you took the time to do those things. And because I've done this over the years, crazy things have happened. True story, can't make it up. This is where we're going to close, folks. This is an actual lead sheet. This guy's name is William Grizzard. So he filled out a form on our site. Some of you remember this, just love this, don't you? So he filled out a form on our site. It says he was doing an organic search on Yahoo, which in and of itself makes old William Grizzard very, very weird. It says he searched cost of fiberglass pools. Cost of fiberglass pool. And then something happened next. This says total page views. It says old William, or Bill Grizzard as we'll call him, he read how many pages of the website? 375 pages. What is wrong with Bill Grizzard? You're like, he must be retired, right? He must be a stalker. Maybe he's a competitor. Maybe he's got obsessive swimming pool disorder. Either way, can we agree it's odd behavior? Yeah? Same night. Can't make it up, y'all. Same night. Turns out I get another lead from Joni Grizzard. Bill has a wife named Joni. Joni also did a search on Yahoo. So we're the first identified Yahoo family in the world. She searches Richmond, Virginia pools, and then she proceeds to read 149 pages on the website. How many pages of the website have they now read? 520-some pages. What do you think that sales appointment was like? I walked into the house. Bill Grizzard has a spreadsheet in his hands.
We've all had Bill.
The pool he's getting. It has every option and accessory he's getting with said pool. And all he needed from me was what? That's right, the contract. I walked out of that house 45 minutes later, not the typical 3 hours. 45 minutes later, signed contract, big deposit. As I drove away, I started to laugh because I realized something. How much selling had I done that day? Yeah. My only job was, don't screw it up, dude. Don't screw it up. Wouldn't it be nice if every time you walked in the home or one of your salespeople walked in the home, the only job was, don't mess it up. It's already done. Now, does this happen all the time? No, but could it happen a lot more? Absolutely. Turns out Bill Grizzard is not a freak. Bill Grizzard happens to be a brain surgeon in Virginia. He's also a consumer that doesn't want to make mistakes. You see, he's just like your buyer. Just like your buyer. Folks, I hope you're starting to see sales and marketing a little bit differently this morning. The power of transparency, the power of honesty. I'm going to close with this final thought. One time I was given a conference in Dallas, Texas. Some of you have seen this, so work with me. And when I was done, I told the River Pool story. This reporter came up to me and said, Marcus, this was so interesting. I think I'd like to do a story on this. I didn't think anything of it until we talked on the phone a few days later for 90 minutes. And then a few days after that, they sent a photographer down to my swimming pool company. And then a few days after that, on the cover of the small business section of the New York Times appeared this article right here. And I want you to look close at this. There's two ironies to this article. The first one is this. That shirt makes me look fat. Was anybody thinking it? Yeah, that's right. You hang around Tom Reber long enough, you stop looking like that, okay? Now, I want you to look at the title. A revolutionary marketing strategy. Answer. Customers. Questions. Is there anything revolutionary about answering your customers' questions? No. After this, I got emails all over the world, people saying, finally, you've helped me to do that which I have always felt we should be doing. Many of you have listened to me today, and you felt this whole time. That's what I've been thinking. That's what I've been saying. That's what I've been feeling. I'm just asking you to follow that gut. Trust those instincts. Be the best teacher in the world. Do not sell yourself short. There's so much potential. I love this industry. My son, he's going to be an electrician. He's been an electrician since he was 16. He stopped going to high school because he had a dream to be an electrician. For me, that was like him saying, I want to go to Harvard. Better than Harvard for me. Because he's going to be 21. He's going to be living great. He's going to be living debt-free. Blue collar space is special. And I know you've heard this week, don't let anybody tell you differently.
Hopefully that gave you a little insight on how to pour some gas on your marketing, why maybe some of you might be struggling, not knowing what to do. The really good news about this is, guys, this stuff's already in your head. You're already answering these questions. You've been in your industry for as long as you have. You've answered all these questions. You have all this knowledge that you've paid for throughout the years. You got to put it to work for you. So I encourage you to do that. Also, you caught a little tiny sliver of what happens at our Mile High Profit Summit events. We've got an amazing lineup of speakers coming your way. If you go to milehighprofitsummit.com, and the whole goal, my friends, is to help you to become a profit-making machine in your business that is working with people who are a joy to work with, who respect you for the value that you bring, and they respect you because you've educated them beyond what anyone else has ever done, and so on. And when all these things are working together that you've talked about here and the other things you're going to learn at Mile High Profit Summit this year, I promise you, with one condition that you have to implement, I promise you that your business will look radically different in a good way 6 to 12 months from when you leave Mile High. Hit the link. Join us at Mile High Profit Summit. You guys rock. I got to roll. I'm out.